Jose, and welcome back to a new learning episode about the factors contributing to the deviant behaviors of serial killer and serial rapist. Emil Durkheim argued that crime and deviance is inevitable in any society, and that limited crime and deviance is actually functional for society. Regarding the inevitability of crime, Durkheim stated that because there cannot be a society in which individuals do not differ to some extent from the collective type and average members. It is also inevitable that among those deviants, there will be some individuals with criminal behaviors. Durkheim further believed that human behaviors such as lust and greed are insatiable and omnipresent. Because individuals in society aspire to everything and demand constantly more, they are never satisfied. Durkheim said that crimes and deviance, including murder, become inevitable facts in such an environment. The term serial killer strikes fear deep into the hearts of the most. However, it is often thought that fear is what drives curiosities, thus finding it appropriate to understand why serial killers commit such horrific acts of violence. It has been found that many serial killers encompass similar emotional development issues. They also tend to be above average intelligence-wise, and in some ways it is as if killing acts as a drug for some of these men. Many theories of crime and deviance correlate to the actions of serial killers. Studies of known serial killers have unveiled similarities between them as early as infancy. Infancy, childhood, and relationships with one's mother are often among the key parallels of serial killers. As does infancy, early childhood is key to the formation of a serial killer. Commonly, serial killers were isolated from their peers as children. Many serial killers suffered from weight problems, stutters, and learning problems such as dyslexia. It is clear that aggression begins in early childhood. Loneliness, as illustrated, may lead to the evolution of fantasies, as these serial killers in the making are frequently alone. Another common characteristic among serial killers is their relationship with their mother. The mothers of these monsters tend to breed men that hate females. The mothers may be over-controlling, overprotective, physically and emotionally abusive. According to one of psychologist Sigmund Freud, males try to reach autonomy with their mother. If the child is unsuccessful, this will result in rage. Many feminists disdain the idea of the mother assisting in the creation of a serial killer. Feminists argued that it is just another way for men to blame women for their downfalls, somewhat of a blame it on the mother scenario. This notion is empirically supported to an extent. However, as 66% of known serial killers were raised with the mother as the dominant figure. The psychology of the serial killer is intriguing yet frightening. The decay of these offenders' personalities begins at infancy for many and continues through childhood and into adulthood. The serial killer tends to be neglected during significant stages of infancy, wherein which the development of the human personality begins. As these offenders enter childhood, they are still at a disadvantage socially, often as a result of abuse and parental issues. Serial killers often lack self-control, as well as other critical characteristics of a law-abiding citizen. It seems as if socialization plays a large role in the formation of these monsters. A number of criminological theories can be applied in the serial killer in some form. However, there are still anomalies. The biological trait theories apply as if there is a great emphasis on infancy and childhood emotional growth. The psychodynamic theory applies as well as these men display actions that seem to be driven by their id personality. Lastly, organized or disorganized theory attempts to conclude the personality and characteristics from the crime scene investigation. As explained by the FBI in a 2005 report on a serial homicide, a serial killer selects victims based on availability, vulnerability, and desirability. Availability is primarily determined by the lifestyle of the victim or circumstances in which he or she is involved that may provide the offender access for an attack. For example, a single female who regularly spends her evenings alone at home is available for a break-in attack by a serial predator. Vulnerability is defined as the extent to which the victim is at risk or susceptible to attack by the offender. A single female walking down the street at night is less vulnerable to attack if she is accompanied by a large dog. Desirability is highly subjective and is described as the attractiveness or appeal of the victim to the offender. Victim desirability involves numerous factors related to the motivation of the offender and may include characteristics such as race, ethnicity, gender, age, body type, or other specific criteria established by the serial killer.
Serial rapist is someone who commits multiple rapes, whether with multiple victims or a single victim, repeatedly over a period of time. Some serial rapists target children. Serial rapists also differ from one-time offender because they often involve in kidnapping, physically and verbally threatening the victims, and using or threatening them with the use of weapons.
Serial rapists are most likely to control physical resistance by gagging, binding, blindfolding, and smothering. They are more likely to question the victim. Serial rapists have been described as being able to improve their ability and expertise to commit their assault through study of serial rape. This includes rehearsal by viewing films, pornography, and reading relevant literature, using sexual fantasies, growth in knowledge in assault-related skills, learning from the examples of other serial rapists, and their own past experiences of physical or sexual abuse. Although not as well known or remembered for their horrific deeds, serial rapists follow patterns just like serial killers, whether it's by mode of entry into a victim's home or the kind of victims they target. Their unifying motivation is power and domination, according to Scott Bond, criminologist and author of Why We Love Serial Killers. Both rely on the fulfillment of a fantasy outcome. Bond says, for the Night Stalker, for example, it was the thrill.
If insatiable passions lie at the core of every human, as Durkheim said, then the psychological and physical gratification of serial killers gained from murder reinforces and fuels their homicidal behavior. Durkheim would say that because the powerful desires of serial killers are never fully satisfied, they are compelled to commit the act of murder again and again. Serial rapist and serial killer is somehow similar to drug addicts or alcoholics whose needs increase over time with usage. The need for serial killers to murder and serial rapists to rape increases as their victim count increases. For example, the appetite for blood of the prolific serial killers Ted Bundy, Gary Ridgway, and Jeffrey Dahmer was never fully satisfied. Their need to kill actually increased over time.